What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily podcast powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Happy Wednesday. Got people already commenting. We're on Cuban time, fashionably late. We're doing double duty today, triple duty. I got show this morning. We'll record storm sessions later on with Keelan Marion, which is going to be awesome. And then the show with Mike Ryan this afternoon. So I apologize. We're just trying to get everything organized. But a lot to talk about here. We talk about the latest in recruiting. I'll drop the latest in the bank. Talking about 2026 visitors, 2027 visitors, targets, you name it. We'll talk about it in recruiting. Also talk a little bit of UF, answer questions, kind of roll from there. Pete's on campus right now interviewing people for the Canes basketball team. We're trying to have the absolute best in terms of basketball coverage. Pete spearheading that, doing an incredible job. Obviously, baseball and football, we got that one locked. So a lot to talk about. Appreciate everybody joining the show. I always appreciate Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about has been injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. All right, so no one's hopping in, so we'll just hop in with the questions. Good morning, everybody. Philip Rusomano, just heard you on the ACC podcast. Appreciate you, Philip. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked that out, I did the ACC Network podcast, the Gramlich and McLean podcast. Kelly's out. I believe she just had a child, so congrats to her. But it was Eric McLean and Taylor Tannenbaum. ACC Network is the best. I'm not just saying that like as a homer. I really do like the ACC Network. It's one of my favorite things about being in the ACC. One of the best things about being in the ACC, and they do a great job. And that was a really fun interview talking to them. So you can check that out on YouTube. Just Gramlich McLean podcast, ACC Network. It's there. But appreciate you, Philip. Nick saying nothing's getting done this week. Yeah, hyped AF. I agree with you, man. That's it's that kind of week. Stuff's getting done, I guess, on my end because I got to do these things. But it's the easiest job in the world because this is what I want to talk about anyways. So, my mind is on the same place as you guys with this Gator game. We talked about it a bunch. Really, to me, it's off the field is the biggest concern. And they present on the field problems. We'll talk about the game a million different ways. We've already talked about it with Amon Richards. We got Steve Kim on. We'll talk about it with Mike Ryan on Thursday. Mike Ryan we'll talk about later on today. We'll do all the previews at the Lickin', which is going to be right live at the Lickin' in Miami Gardens. That's where we'll be before the game. So from basically noon to about time to wrap it up and head to the stadium, which is 5 minutes away, we'll be live at the Lickin'. Great food, great service. So you want to do the CanesInSight tailgate. Our tailgate's indoors with TVs everywhere and food being served this top end and a full bar at the Lickin' Miami Gardens. Appreciate you, TJ. So, real quick, just the game in general, been talking about the matchups, talking to different people that know more than me. Yeah, I think really what I would watch is DJ Lagway's ability to push the ball down the field. And the reason I say that is if you look at the stats and just this, I watched USF game, I watched the LSU game in full, went back and watched some of the highlights and looked at the stats from the big wins he had last year. So just going to the statistical profile for DJ Lagway as we pull it up here, the quarterback for the Florida Gators, clearly struggling, someone that I thought was very talented. I still do think is very talented with his size and arm strength. You look here, last year, limited snaps, only 2,000 yards, just because he didn't play till the middle of the year, but 10 yards average per attempt. So every attempt, 10 yards. And that's with a 59% completion percentage, which means that when that ball is completed, it was going for big chunks. You look down here, 6.3 this year. We talked about this a little bit yesterday. It is a jarring difference when you up the completion percentage to 71% and the yards per attempt drops to 6.3. Doesn't take a mathematician to figure out what's happening here. He is completing more passes that are going a shorter distance, right? You go back and look here, I pulled up the game log from last year. DJ Lagway really made his name right in this zone, right? LSU and Ole Miss, the two upset victories. And if you look at the completion percentage here, 50%, 58%. And it's not like he passed for a ton of yards, but the yards that he did pass for were impactful. He was throwing it down the field and making plays. My concern with this game We're talking about UF teams got nothing to lose. Coach is getting fired. Everybody kind of knows that it's going nowhere fast. So they're going to go just empty the clip, and not just from trick plays and all that, but I think they're going to be more aggressive going downfield. I don't know that to be the case, but you would think that based on what they did when they were successful later in the season last year. I worry about that just because he has an incredible arm and his accuracy is inconsistent, but he can make big time throws. We know that. And the receivers also inconsistent. I love Vernell Brown, just a freshman. The other two guys I think are up and down, but they're fast. So you could hit chunk plays like that. And if you're Florida, to me, this is how Florida could win the game. I don't think Florida will win the game. I think Miami is clearly the better football team. I think everyone around the country would agree, but sometimes the better football team doesn't win. So how could Florida win this football game? I think it's very simple formula. Number one, and this is a classic underdog formula when you're the worst team, you shorten the game, right? So you don't push the tempo. You try to control the clock. You try to keep Miami's offense off the field. That's kind of basic. The shorter the game is, if you're the worst team, the more like a turnover or a big play going one way or the other can impact the result. The longer the game goes, the more plays are run, the better team's more likely to win. You saw that in Miami's matchups with USF. Because of all those plays that are getting run, the gap just gets wider and wider because Miami is the better team. You want to pull an upset, better approach, shorten the game, which I think UF's going to try to do. If I'm UF, I'm running Ba a lot more. I know yesterday we had that big back and forth with P because I was saying, Ba to me is an average SEC back. I don't think he's like a spectacular back like Jeremiah Love, but average SEC back is pretty good, and he can't hurt us. So I know others disagree. People in the comments were saying he was some kind of great player. Yeah, I don't see that with him. Jeremiah Love to me is a great player. I don't see Bob as a great player. I think there's a lot of guys like him, but he's solid. He's a good, solid back, SEC average back, which is better than average nationally. I don't think they're using him enough. If I'm UF, part of this shorten the game strategy, I am running the ball with Bob. I'm trying to shorten the game, convert third downs. Again, just kind of salt the game away so there's less. So variable plays like a turnover or just a big play down the field have a bigger impact. And then you got to go attack, right? Use DJ Lagos arm to push the ball down the field. This dink and duck style they've been playing does not play to his strengths. I think Miami is going to run to the ball and tackle well. They're going to be motivated. They should be. It's college game day. They should be fired up. So I don't think it's going to be a game where Miami tackles poorly. I hope not. But certainly you can get guys on deep balls. You can get pass interference. There's a lot of things that can happen. So that to me is the formula on offense for the Gators. You talk about defensively. I don't think their corners are as good as, like, for example, Notre Dame, but I would still probably do the same strategy where you man up and try to make UM's receivers beat you. Now, Miami's receivers did beat Notre Dame, and Notre Dame had better players in the secondary than UF, but I think that's what you have to do. But I think defensively, Florida's going to have a tougher time. Their offense has struggled, right? But I think their offense has the potential to pull. I use this example always for this game in terms of like my nightmares. Virginia Tech last year, Kyron Drones was even more inconsistent than DJ Lagway, but physically gifted. And then when he's hot, and that game he was motivated because Cam Ward, it was his cousin. They had the same trainer. He got hot. He was motivated and playing with a lot of confidence, and he made some incredible throws. Our defense helped Drones last year, but if you watch the tape and just isolate Drones, he played the best game of his life. So I think Lagway could do that. He's been hearing how bad he is for the entire week, 5 interceptions. We've seen these all the time where you have those kind of just one-off big-time performances with your back against the wall. So that is a possibility for them on offense. Defensively, I think they're going to have a much tougher time. Reason being, I've talked about this before, the lack of pass rush, right? The lack of pass rush for the Gators is going to be an issue against Miami's front because, number one, Miami has the best, in my opinion, offensive line in the country. I don't think you can make like Utah, I would say, is the other team that you could say is better or as good. I think Utah's phenomenal. So I'd say those are the two best by a pretty good, clear margin. You put Penn State and some other teams after that, for my opinion. But I think that'll be borne out by production in NFL. So top 2, top 1 offensive line, great pass blocking unit. Completely dominated UF pass rush last year. It was almost laughable at times the time Cam Ward had in the pocket. And now you remove Caleb Banks, who didn't have an impact last year, but did have an impact last week against LSU, is their best player on the defensive side of the ball. So you put him on the sideline. This is not a team that rushes the passer well. In fact, statistically, one of the worst pass rushes for the Gators in the nation through the first few games. So worst pass rush, one of the worst pass rush in the nation, best pass blocking team in the country. That formula bodes well for Miami on offense. Carson Beck, of course, with time, very cerebral. He's played a lot of college football. He can distribute the ball. He can make the throws, and we could run the ball. I don't see UF stopping Miami's run consistently. They're going to be fired up. It's a rivalry game. They'll be flying around. They have physical talent. So they'll stop the run at times, but I don't see them over the course of a game stopping Miami's running game. They didn't do it last year. They didn't really do it with USF and LSU. So I think Miami will be able to run the ball. But I think really offensively, the lack of pass rush is going to be a problem for UF, and everything will kind of flow from there. They'll miss Caleb Banks. But again, they have a chance to win this game. UF does. We cannot downplay it, even though I will tell you, I've said it all offseason. I said all offseason. UF is a media creation. Just like I said the year before. UF is a media creation last year. They just didn't have, and they didn't bring enough from the portal. I kind of hammered that point home. They did not do enough in the portal. Some of the players that people thought were great were just good, right? So, and I was saying all that with a belief in Lagway. Lagway's been worse than I expected. So Miami is clearly the better team. But because of all these surrounding circumstances, UF back against the wall, Miami kind of feeling themselves, although I think I'm more worried about the UF part of it than the Miami part. I think Miami is going to be motivated with Cristobal, with the crowd, everything. I think we'll be fine on that front, but I do think UF's going to have that underdog, that nothing to lose mentality, which is dangerous because then they get a couple plays. Now Miami, they're not focused or they're not hyped, but maybe they kind of get tight because they're like, man, we got a lot to lose. We're down. We've seen this story a million times. Those things concern me. And UF, if they're smart, I think would play Notre Dame's game plan on defense and then bomb the ball down the field on offense. But the truth is, I don't think they have enough. All right. So, we'll see. Chipper Hank saying you got to vary your pre-snap looks on defense and Lagway will turn the ball over. He doesn't process quickly, and switching pre-snap looks force him to adjust while getting pressured. I agree. Lagway struggled to read the defense against LSU. So, we'll see how that goes. I think Miami has enough to make him think, but we'll see how that looks. Night King says we have to keep the pressure on Lagway like we did in Notre Dame. Quarterback, Bethune, quarterback, and USF, keep him running for his life. I do think that I said this before the Notre Dame game. I didn't think their tackles had tremendous power. I thought they were kind of light in the butt. Miami's defensive ends obviously have tremendous power going that way. Ruben Bain, Messidor, bigger defensive ends. So I think Lagway will face some pressure, at least coming off the edge, because I don't think as good. U.S. offensive line is solid. They're well coached. They're not bad, but all those rankings putting them above UM before the season were just absolute PFF insanity. They don't have the power outs on the outside. If you want to deal with Bain and Messidor, the best matchup, truthfully, for those guys is going to be a Mawanoa, a Markel Bell, right? Because they got size. So we'll see. Rock and Rand, appreciate you. Look forward to seeing you this weekend. Says we aren't losing to DJ Wrong Way and Dead Man Walking. I don't think so either, but I've seen strange college football, man. I got to keep my guard up. Eric Savoy, D-Money DJ sucks on the road and has barely done it. Also can't sit on the ball and slow the game down and take shots with an inaccurate QB. I mean, that's right. But again, that's assuming he's going to be inaccurate. You got to make him inaccurate. He can get hot. This is college football. He has talent. A couple good completions, and he's feeling himself, and we got to deal with that. Liquid Enigma. Didn't UF's running back coach get suspended for 3 or 4 games? Yeah, he did, for a pregame confrontation or a confrontation on game day. So another distraction. You want all the distractions going against Florida this week. It's a disaster, and we encourage the disaster. Mon Richards, appreciate you as always, man. The most requested. Love talking to him on Tuesdays. Pete and him held it down with me doing the ACC Network thing. So always appreciate him hopping on. Dr. Jones says, have to jump out early, break their will, fold them like a cheap suit. I do agree with that. If we do get off to an early start, then I could see him quitting. I don't think they're going to come out, already quitting like you've seen with some other lame duck coaches situations, Virginia Tech coming up, because they did do it last year where everybody kind of threw dirt on them, and then they had that nice little run at the end of the year that tricked a lot of media folks. I don't think they're like teetering is what I'd say. So if they have some early success, I think they'll be ready to rock. I think they're going to come out hot, because of that, because they've done it before where they've been backs against the wall and come out and played well. But if they get in a hole, I think I could go the other way. And they could be like, all right, here we go again. This is done. Lagway throws a pick. Miami plays well. And then the coaching staff, just bad energy. The crowd's not going to be very favorable to them. UF fans are selling their tickets like hotcakes. So I think that's what we're looking at. Novice Gamer saying Popo and Chase look fast and aggressive at linebacker. Yeah, that position's been much better than it has been in the past. Birdstone, appreciate you as always. Smash that like button. It's free. Thank you again for the kind words. Shout out to the villains. Let's see here. Talk about the Hilton Stubbs clip during the game where we talked about the direction of the program. Yeah, there was a lot going on there. I think Miami's pretty happy with what they got a safety right now. I'm not sure Hilton Stubbs would have made too much of a difference there in that secondary. I think Bryce Fitzgerald is going to be great, and Bobby Pruitt's doing his great job. Dylan Day, I think Miami's doing really, really good at that position. Clutch saying, pretty sure this is the best defense Lagway has seen. I'd agree, particularly in the edge. You look at LSU last week, Patrick Payton, he's okay. He's not the strongest guy in the world. Jack Pyburn played a ton of snaps at defensive end, and he's really more of a run-stopping defensive end. His pass rush isn't there, but he played it's not like he was playing only running downs. He was there for most of the game. So I think with him, with Pyburn, I'm talking about, that's not threatening their pass protection the way that Bain. Green Tree says Dean Money deserves to take a victory lap for being right. For being right about Josh Moore and Dallas Wilson. I mean, it's September 17th, so they got a long way to go. Their careers are just starting. I would say that, I was whenever he said Dallas Wilson was going to produce early, I was pretty emphatic that Vernell Brown would be the one that would kind of be the reliable one. Now, Dallas Wilson got hurt, so injuries are, not his fault he got injured. But I just think, Vernell Brown is the guy on that team. If you're asking me, Gators roster's wide open, who would you take? Caleb Banks you would take because of his talent at defensive tackle, but he's pretty much out the door. I mean, he's injured. He's going to take a sweet time coming back from that injury, and he's going to go pro. Tyreek Sapp could probably be in a rotation at defensive end, but I'm not crazy about him. I don't think he's better than Messidor. Maybe that's a hot take, but I think Messidor is better than Tyreek Sapp. Obviously, Ruben Bain's way better. Slaughter maybe at center, although I think Brockmeyer's doing exactly what we need. But otherwise, they really don't have that many players that I'm eager to grab. Like I said, I think Ball would be competing for our third back. We'll roll with Brown. We got him. He's a winner. We love Brown. So number 5, the linebacker Graham, he's pretty good. But they just really don't have a lot of players. Now, Vernell Brown, I'm taking every time. I just think he's really, really talented, and he's gonna really, really be a legend for the Gators, quite frankly, if they can keep him and get him the ball. So we'll see. We'll see on that. Still early. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, Nava's saying, I always thought Vernell Brown was the man, but they kept saying Dallas Wilson was the man of the offseason. I mean, in my experience, and this is just kind of seeing this play out a bunch of times. Not like I'm some kind of football, I have a lot of expertise. I mean, I never played or coached a game at a high level, but just seeing how these things play out a lot of times. The guys that are cut from the cloth of Vernell Brown, where they're very talented and then between the ears elite, those guys tend to play early and they tend to have the most success. Malachi Toney being that example on our team. Nick Isaac, we need to be locked in. Florida's going to see all these recruits coming and want revenge. From a recruiting perspective, this game, we cannot afford to lose. Time to show these kids we are back. Absolutely. That is time to show them we are back. And if you've been injured, you're hurting, you want to get back, recover your game with the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute. If you consider yourself an athlete, I know we got a lot of athletes listen to the show, or just an active guy, likes to stay in shape. You know how hard it is to sit on the injured list with pain, with injury, watch everybody else do their thing. Sometimes you try to get back early by hacking your own rehab. But if you don't want to compromise your movement or performance, call the experts at the University of Miami Sports Medicine Institute, whether it's the guys on the sideline at the University of Miami, whether it's your average person just trying to get back, U Health Sports, we will get you there. It is the trusted choice for those who demand excellence. Set an appointment today at U Health Sports. All right. Touch says, we are back. Doug from Hangover. Let's see. Let's not put the recruits by the tunnels. We don't have to worry about all that stuff. We're not the Gators. Have to hide recruits from our players trying to recruit them. Sergio Sanchez, is there a Mike Ryan show today? Yes, there is. That'll most likely be at 2. Hopefully, Storm Sessions doesn't go long, but that will be at 2 today. Philip Rusamano says, they held my buddy out in the NBA when he tore his ACL in intramural soccer. Yeah, the Sports Medicine Institute, man. If you're, like I said, if you're playing intramural soccer, whether you're playing on Saturdays in Hard Rock Stadium, they're there for you. The absolute best. Just Jay says, Akeem Mesor is the second best D in the country. I like that energy. I'm not ready to say that, but maybe. Like I said, I like that energy when it comes to the Canes. So let's see here. Just looking at the comments. What do we got? What time are you guys doing Duffy's and Licking Friday, Saturday? Duffy's going to be there like all day on Friday. We get there at 9 to do our normal show. And then I got some events there. So pretty much if you go to Duffy's anytime on Friday, you're probably going to see me. So roll through, man. We'll be there the whole day. And then the Licking, we start about noon. And then when it's time to get back into the stadium, we'll switch gears. But we'll be there. We'll be there pretty much from 12 to, I want to say, like, I don't know, 5. What time's the game? 7:30, 5:30. About time when, like, no one's gonna be lingering there we're not gonna be lingering there. When it's time to go, we'll go, but we'll be good. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Let's see what else we got here. Uncle Joey wants to know the recruiting lists for the game. So let's talk about this here. So let's talk the bank. For those who follow this show, the bank, sort of my branded segment talking about recruiting the team, basically the most direct insider info that I can provide in this kind of forum. We post it for free on CanesInsight.com. 7.5 million posts and counting on the bank. And I put the visitor list right on there. So as you can see here, we got some 2000. And this is, by the way, this visitor list is incomplete. It's not everybody that's going to be there. I just put some big time out of state visitors, and there's some names that you can't really share because sometimes these flip candidates, you let them show up and you go from there. Right. So keep that in mind as we talk about these guys. But some of the names that are on this visit list: Jackson Cantwell, number 1 player in America, just recently named that by Rivals. He was already number 1 player, but they confirmed that with the re-ranking. Nolan Wilson, sworn to the Storm, asking, was that Tyreek Green in the graphic? Yes, because Tyreek Green, the Georgia commit, will be visiting for this game. I mentioned Nolan Wilson, the Alabama commit. Tyson Bacon, Ben Congdon, Camden Portis, John Tavius Wyman, Cortis does rating, all commits of ours. Isaiah Broughton, the UNLV commit. I'll talk about him in a second. 2027. Let's talk about some of these guys. I'm going to pull up this film right here because DJ Jacobs, who is the top 5 player in America, number 5 defensive end, or 5-star defensive end, one of the best players around in the class of 2027, is making his second visit to the University of Miami. He's an Atlanta native, plays for Miami. He's been doing a lot of damage there in Atlanta. But just to give you an idea of the kind of player we're talking about, let me pull up his film. Again, this guy was here for the Notre Dame game, saw that tremendous win, and now he is here for hopefully another tremendous win against Notre Dame. But when you get this amount of visits, it's pretty telling. So here we go. I mean, look at the explosiveness of this dude. I talked to him. We interviewed him. It's on CanesInsight. It's on the YouTube when we interviewed Jacobs. Very, very just like professional, good kid. Again, it's just a brief interview. But my first impression of him was outstanding. It's like, okay, yeah, I can see why this guy's a 5-star. And then you watch the film, and it's absolutely 5-star material. The Atlanta area, Miami's already got a couple commits. Look at first off the snap, the bend, the finish, and then you see him get fired up. They always say watch the visits when it comes to recruiting. So this is 4 weeks. This is a second visit. 5-star player from out of state. So put that one, put that one on your radar as we watch this film. You can see he's put together in person, but he's not like a huge guy. Probably more of just like your stand-up rusher, physical, but more of your stand-up guy who's going to get after it, as you see on these highlights. And these are sophomore highlights, so he's going to continue to get even higher and higher on the rankings. Fence Post asking, which looking do you guys go to? Miami Gardens, right by the stadium. So that's where we're at. Novice gamer asking, do I have to create a login to view the CanesInSight recruiting list? Nope. You can go to CanesInSight and go right from there. But no, there's no charge for logging in or signing up. It's all free. So go ahead and sign up. I promise you'll be happy you did. There you see, this guy's going to get bigger and bigger. Again, just a sophomore in these highlights and putting together tape that made him a 5-star player. So he's one of the many 2027 recruits that's going to be there. Some other names: Tyson Robinson, 4-star running back; Quentin Cypher, 4-star linebacker; Jackson Dollar, 4-star tight end; Marquez Daniel, 4-star wide receiver; Joshua Sam Apelli, 4-star offensive tackles. These guys are all blue chip out-of-state players that are visiting. Again, this is an incomplete list because you're going to see more players visit that are not these guys and guys that we're just not talking about for, let's say, strategic reasons, because we're trying to flip some guys. But look at the explosiveness of this dude. But these are some guys I can report 2027 targets. Miami really wants to get off to a quick start in 2027, looking to flip guys now they're having such a phenomenal season. And I think the plan so far has been going according to what they expected. Got to beat Florida in front of everybody here. Sworn to the Storm says, I got to be honest, Greater Atlanta has become pound for pound the best in the country for football talent. I would agree with that. I mean, South Florida has always been the best, or at least has been the best for the last 30 years, but it's down right now. I think Atlanta's caught up to it. I saw they did the NFL list, and Miami and Atlanta were both tied for the most players from one city. Look at this guy, man. He really does look the part here, Jacobs. So I would say they're pretty close. Question from 305 Shaman. How's Darion Coleman looking this year? I actually want to talk about him because part of the thing I talked on the bank was some of the players that are committed to us that are having really good senior seasons. So I wanted to highlight guys that are impressing us. And this is again, incomplete list, but guys that are really catching our attention just from their senior film, guys that we already have committed. So Morian Wingo from St. Augustine just got a big bump from Rivals as a recruit. These are national guys. So he's now a top 100 player in the country. Jalen Waters, the defensive back, the cornerback from the Tampa area, he continues to be a very, very sought after player in this class. Texas is trying to get in there because he's playing great ball, but Miami's been recruiting him extremely hard. Izzy Briggs, the tight end from California. JJ Edwards, the linebacker from Orlando. We posted some of that film on here. He's been outstanding. And then Darion Coleman, who you asked about, the quarterback from Orlando, doing a really nice job. But I talked about these under the radar defensive tackles. So I want to talk about some of these guys. Let's start with Logan Nagel here, who is from northern New Jersey, basically like the New York metro area, on the New Jersey side, area where Miami's been successful. I think David Njoku's from that area, Greg Olson. So we've gotten guys from that area. These are city kids. They're more comfortable in Miami. They're actually very similar to the University of Miami student body. A lot of guys from New Jersey, a lot of guys from this area. So Logan Nagel's another one. Pittsburgh commit. You see him there. Quick. Pittsburgh does such a good job recruiting defensive linemen and evaluating those guys. They're always one of those teams that when you see a Pittsburgh offer, you kind of raise your eyebrow in a good way. But yeah, Logan Nagel, body type, you're talking about 6'4", 275. I've seen this guy. He is definitely that. There you see him getting after it here. Miami wants these defensive tackles that are so, let's call them underrated. Obviously, they're still after 5 stars and guys like that. But in terms of these more under the radar defensive tackles, they want guys that have body types that can win championships. I think they're at a point now where they're not trying to get these overachiever type defensive tackles. Well, they want overachievers with great talent, but I mean, they're trying to get, really talented dudes. And I think Logan Nagel's someone that you see the change of direction he has at his height, great motor, a very talented player. You see him on special teams. I always talk about blocked kicks as an indicator of upside talent, movement, etc. There you see him. I mean, this guy can really, really move. He's got height, and he's from an area where Miami's had success. So I think this is a name that's worth keeping an eye on. Pittsburgh commit. You see him here just completely wrecking games. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Brandon Fisk, who you saw at FSU a couple of years ago. Similar size, similar body type, quick guy, disruptive. So it'd be nice, very nice addition to add a Logan Nagel to this class. Really like his film. Another guy that's got a ton of buzz, a little more local, is Frederick Saintius from Naples. I'm pulling up this video. I haven't seen this video yet, so hopefully it's good. But this just got posted. This is his last game. Man, look at that, flying off the snap. His senior film has been outstanding. He was an FAU committee, recently decommitted. He's visited Miami. He was there for the Florida game. He's someone Miami's really, really hot after right now. 6'4", 275. I mean, he is wrecking these games. Competition is obviously not the best, but he's doing what you want to see against that competition, which is completely dominating. Multi-sport guy, wrestles, track, all that stuff. The body type is there. We've seen him in person. We like what we see. Look at the balance to stay on his feet and change directions and hustle. I mean, all these things you're seeing on display. And this is just one. This is his last game. So this is the most recent look you're seeing at Frederick Saintius, just completely dominating. Like I said, decommitted from FAU. Florida's in the mix, but I think, we're seeing Florida kind of fall apart. Miami's hot on his trail. They love what they see. You see him playing offensive line there. They think he's got the body type. They think he's got the talent. Very raw, but they think in a year or two, this guy's going to be just absolutely unreal. I mean, look at here he got him in space here. He looks like a boom. Oof, man, poor kid. That's one game from Saintius. So he's a guy I would circle and really keep an eye on as these late blooming type of guy. He is from Haiti. He's not, a Haitian. I mean, he is a Haitian American now. He's not like a Haitian American born in America. Like, he is from Haiti. So newer to the game of football, making that adjustment. The upside is there. I heard the guy's a great kid. I just, wrestler, so he's tough, disciplined, all that kind of stuff. So I think when you look at the whole package when it comes to Frederick Saintius, really, really good player. Excited to see what he could do. Let's see what's going on here. What else we got going on? One more guy, Broughton, right? So I mentioned earlier in the bank that Isaiah Broughton was going to visit. That's one of the few uncommitted 2026 kids that we're after that is visiting. And let me pull up his early season highlight tape here, because this guy's a Houston, Texas player committed to UNLV. I don't expect that to stick. He's got some big time interest, but Miami's really, really aggressively evaluating defensive tackles that have a certain size threshold, body type threshold, athleticism threshold. And Broughton's clearly someone that they think could be over the line, because they're bringing him in for a visit, or at least they're hosting him for the game visit. So there you see him. Boom. The body type's pretty obvious. Houston, Texas. So he's not from the sticks. He's from a big city, which I always tend to look for with these guys, because it's just harder to get guys that are not from cities. There you see some first step quickness. What jumps out to me with Broughton is just look at the size. I mean, he's got that body type. See him rushing the passer. This is an early season highlight, so a lot of these are from the same game. He hasn't played a ton of games yet. The season just started, but I'm sure we're going to look at him when he's on his visit, get to know him a little bit. But they liked what they saw in this early season highlight reel. I don't think UNLV is going to hold on to a guy with this kind of size. Play by the rules. Miami's getting players from Hollywood casting the right measurables. You need it. So look at that movement skill as he gets it done. Baganow says we need to get into Texas. I agree. And I would be really very much focused on cities, not to be a broken record, but I think cities are the way to go when you talk about getting into Texas, because you're not going to go into West Texas, Friday Night Lights country and pull kids that are worth pulling, most likely. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying, it's probably going to be unlikely to be able to do, just because Miami is a very different place, just culturally. I mean, it's just far. It's a different lifestyle. You're in a different part of the world. Go to Texas A&M, to Texas Tech, to Texas, to Oklahoma, places that are closer to home, they're probably more familiar with. However, Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, maybe even Austin, Texas, you're talking about kids that are more likely to fit in at the University of Miami. I think of some great Dallas Canes. First name that jumps to my mind is Jesse Armstead from Dallas. I believe Kevin Williams might have been from Dallas. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me pull up this highlight here. But, that's the kind of place I would like to target when you go into Texas. We did get portal guys from Texas. We talk about Cam Ward, Damian Martinez. Arroyo was a signee. I want to say he's from San Antonio, but he's from one of the cities. Another city kid in hostile territory that Miami really likes. Luke Brewer is a tight end. He was going to be a 2027 tight end. Now he's been reclassed into 2026. He's from Des Moines, Iowa. So Iowa tight end, but not from the sticks. This guy's from Des Moines, so a little bit of a bigger city. And this is watching his sophomore film. He's now reclassed, so I guess the next year is his senior film. That film's not out to the public, but I heard it looks incredible. Miami really likes what this guy looks like on his more recent game film. This is again from last year. But a guy can block, guy that can get open, has some quickness, catches the ball with his hands from an area that produces a ton of tight ends in Iowa. And he's visited 4 times. So this is not like a pie in the sky type of offer. You see him line up a receiver, good quickness, hands catcher, gets upfield, runs someone over. So Miami has a lot of tight ends in the mix there for this 26 class. Talk about Izzy Briggs, already committed. They've offered a ton of guys at that spot, but this is a name that was associated with 27 that I think you got to put into that 2026 bucket. And when you visit 4 times, I don't care where you're from, you're a potential commit. So keep an eye on Luke Brewer. Miami loves him. Another name I want to get to here before we wrap up the bank, Trent Seaborn from Birmingham, Alabama, Thompson High School, originally from Hawaii, has visited Miami now 3 times this calendar year. Miami's top quarterback target in the class of 27. I talked to him after the USF game. He loved the atmosphere. He loved seeing that offensive line that Carson Beck was playing behind. Loved seeing some of those young receivers, Josh Moore, Malachi Toney. So, yeah, good football situation for him. He enjoyed his visit. He's visited a bunch. SEC's after him hard, all that kind of stuff. But I think Miami's going to have a real good chance at Trent Seaborn. They're going to really turn the temperature up with him because he is their guy in the class of 27. So that's the bank. The bank this week is brought to you by our friends at KashKick. That is KashKick, one of the top apps on the planet, top 5 in the lifestyle category, right there above Pinterest. If you're wondering how big this thing is, over 1.5 million downloads, over 4.5 average star rating on the app review page. If we had that star rating for recruits, we'd be feeling pretty good as an average. But if you're a gamer and you don't have to be like a serious gamer with a headset, just someone who likes to play games on your phone, get your kind of competitive urges out while you have some downtime, download the KashKick app, KashKick. You got all these games aggregated, all different kinds of games, puzzle games, RPGs, card games, more just traditional games, everything you name it, they got at KashKick.com on the app. And the coolest thing about it, when you're playing, you can earn some extra money on the side. So what can be better than that? Earning extra money for doing something you're going to do anyways because you're bored and having all these games in one easy to find place. So KashKick.com, KashKick.com, but really the app in the App Store, KashKick. Earn some extra money, play some games, have some fun at KashKick. Josh Gross says, I agree with Pete on the debate from yesterday on Jaden Baugh. He's a good back. I think he's their biggest threat. No, look, I think he's a good back. I think he's their biggest threat. All I was saying was, I don't think this is a situation where he's like a scary individual like Jeremiah Love. People are bullying him up to be some kind of elite back. I think he's a good back. I think there's a lot of good backs in the country. I think we'll play some good backs in the ACC, quite frankly. He is a good back. He is someone you can't let him beat you for sure, but I don't know if he's someone you have to stay up at night trying to game plan against, like with a Jeremiah Love. I think you want to beat Jaden Baugh, run to the ball, tackle, do your job, stay in your gap, and I think you'll be able to handle him. He'll saying Baugh's a top 5 back. I wouldn't put him anywhere near that category. I put Mark Fletcher above him. I put Jeremiah Love above him. Isaac Brown, from an explosiveness kind of standpoint, you'd have to put above him. The running back Hardy at Missouri, holy moly! I don't know if you guys have seen that guy, but he's one of the best backs in the country. Just looking at some of these guys around the country. Justice Haynes, what he's doing at Michigan has been outstanding. I put him above Baugh. Hollywood Smothers, we've seen him at North Carolina State doing his thing. So, there's a few guys. Bryson Washington at Baylor is going to be an NFL back. I'd put him probably in the similar category. Jonah Coleman, Wayman Jordan at USC. Obviously, the 2 backs at Penn State. I think you got to rate those guys highly. In fact, I should have said those guys even earlier. So there's a few. I wouldn't say he's top 5, but I mean, look, a good, solid back that you have to respect, but I wouldn't put him as a elite player. Bag Enough says UF has players that can run away from our defense in space and vertically got to leverage the ball. I think we got to do our job. I think we do our job, we'll be fine. But UF's offense is probably one of the least explosive offenses in college football this year. So I don't think we should give them too much credit. But do they have speed at receiver that if you mess up or they get you in a bad situation, they can run to the end zone? Yeah, they could. I mean, they have speed. But I kind of go back and forth. It's on one hand, I'm saying we got to respect this opponent. They can beat us absolutely. Similar to how Virginia Tech almost beat us last year. I believe that, but I think UF's talent is decrepit for what it should be at the University of Florida. I think Napier's done a horrible job. I think their collective is a joke, and I think their program stinks. I mean, what's this going to be? Another losing season? They've had 5 out of the last 9 years. If this one goes sideways on them, so bad program. I can't think of any reason to be a fan of UF other than living there. The uniform sucks. The culture sucks. They have chants from before the Civil War. I mean, they suck. So I don't know what to say about UF other than they can beat us because it's college football, but they're a bad team. Their coach is going to get fired and their fans are sad and deserve to be sad because screw them. Over 1,000 on. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. Heel saying, you see the running back coach get suspended. I did. It's a disaster over there. And I think some I forgot who said it earlier. I apologize, but it was dead on. If you get on them early, they're going to have some problems because their culture is so toxic and everything's a disaster for them. So if you get down early, they'll implode. But in terms of if they get hot early and they get on top of you, they play downhill. It's college football. You see the ball going through the net, you start getting some confidence and you start rolling. So that start's going to be critical. That start's going to be absolutely critical for the Miami Hurricanes. What else we got going on? Let's see. Got to talk about my boys, the Miami Hurricane team store. Always. This is pretty cool. So I'd never seen this before, but there's a new offer at the Miami Hurricane team store. They got the game day schedule. So we'll talk about the game day schedule. It starts at 5 a.m. But if you're showing up to college game day, get your college game day shirt. Look at that. You got the actual shirt from college game day for this particular game. You got 3 different versions. They're all pretty cool. I like this. Use promo code INSIGHT20, get 20% off. You can order this. You don't have to be here to get this shirt. MiamiHTS.com or let me just hold on 1 second. I got to take a call. Or at the store next to the Thesis Hotel. Looks like I'm getting a call that I got to take. So appreciate everybody joining us. Like and subscribe to the show. We're going to be talking with Mike Ryan later on today. I'll be doing storm sessions. I'll post that when it's ready. So a lot going on, man. Like and subscribe. Go Canes.